Tragic scenes with tragic endings. These are unrelated homicides throughout the GTA that share one very frightening commonality. A 32-year-old woman and her 60-year-old mother found with fatal stab wounds in their Brampton home in January. And just several hours later, Peel police were called to another residence, this time in Mississauga. A 61-year-old woman was stabbed to death in her home. And just this week, a triple homicide in South Ajax, where a 39-year-old woman and her two young teens killed inside their home. The deaths of a number of women and children killed in and around the GTA since January is raising questions on if domestic violence numbers are on the rise. The Canadian Women's Foundation says there's been an average of 28 alleged domestic homicides annually in Ontario since 2002, and 98% of the perpetrators are alleged to be men. A message to our viewers: the number for the Assaulted Women's Hotline will be at the bottom of the screen for anyone who may need support.
There have been a cluster of homicides that are concerning.
The horrific scenes we've seen over and over since January, with women and children as young as 13 killed in alleged domestic homicides, have many questioning if gender-based violence is on the rise.
We do know that women tend to stick in relationships over the holiday period. They want to keep things calm for the children often. And we know that when women leave, men tend to escalate their violence. So those two things together make me think that the first 3 months of this year, we might be seeing some of the result of women starting to leave after the holidays.
The Barbara Schleifer Clinic offers support to women who have experienced any form of abuse. The executive director says it's too early to tell if domestic violence is on the rise. However, there has been an increase in victims and survivors visiting the clinic. They had 4,700 in previous years, but this year they're expecting 7,000.
We have seen a 35% increase in requests for services overall in our legal department.
Do you attribute that to the increase of domestic violence, or do you attribute that to more people seeking support?
It's almost impossible for me to tell you an answer to that that's statistically accurate.
Preliminary figures from Ontario's Chief Coroner's Office show there were 49 domestic-related deaths in the province in 2015 and 35 the following year. Numbers for 2017 and 2018 couldn't be provided, as the investigation to confirm if their domestic-related deaths can take more than 1 year. Dale says women who are both victims and survivors of domestic violence require more support and resources to overcome barriers.
There's real actual barriers to leaving. So we have a 10-year housing waiting list in Toronto, for instance. Now, there are special provisions for women who are experiencing violence, but these haven't been sufficient to take care of the demand for housing, for instance. It's a very real physical barrier for women to get on with their lives.
Earlier this month, the province announced it would be investing funding in a new strategy that addresses gender-based violence. One of the focuses would be on improving the justice system response for survivors. For City News, I'm Faiza Amin.